Hello everybody, this is Namanjan out with a new tutorial. So today we're going to learn on how to actually move our player. Last time we learned on how to actually do the animation, and so let's continue. So the problem last time was that we didn't have any environment to move in. So today in this tutorial we're going to learn on how to actually make this environment. So before we start off, I will give you guys a link to download from, and you guys are gonna download this asset over here. One second, ground textures. This asset over here. So I'm just gonna drag this asset over here, and as you can see, it's all transparent. And again, this tile set over here is from Reiner's tile set. The reason I'm letting you guys download it from me is because it actually the background is actually not transparent, and I actually made it transparent. I have a program that just makes it transparent. So the guys should definitely check out his website, but I'm not claiming any rights for this graphics. So yeah, let's continue on. So what you guys want to do is, once you actually import this asset, you want to go to its import settings, and you want to change the sprite mode to multiple, and just change the filter mode to trilinear, and go to sprite editor. And what you want to do is you want to zoom in, and you want to slice this green grass over here, just roughly. And then what you want to do is you're gonna get this pop-up over here at the right bottom, and you're going to say trim. So it's going to trim to the grass, and just make sure it's nicely trimmed, and you're going to exit, and then you're going to apply. Okay, so now if you go in, you're going to see this thing over here. There's this grass texture. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this grass texture on our game. And also later on, you're gonna download this over here, these buildings. Oops, sorry, these buildings later on, not yet, but first we need to work with the ground textures. So what you guys gonna do is you're gonna just drag this over here, okay? And now you're gonna notice that it actually draws over your player. Now the reason is the Z value of your player and sandgrass texture is 0. So the Z value determines what's gonna draw over what. So if your Z is lower, it's gonna draw over something else. So if that's confusing, that's fine. So if you go to sandgrass texture and change the Z to 2, which is higher than 0 on player, it's actually gonna draw under the player. So just go ahead and make that to 2, or even 10. In this case, I'll just make it 10. So just make sure that it's higher than the player, and it's reasonably high. Okay. Now once you've got that done, what we want to do is we want to go to our scene, and as you can see over here, it's just one tile over there, and you want to replicate it over a big area so that you have grass everywhere. So one very slow method is to just duplicate it by manually, and just drag it over and try to match it up. And this is going to take a lot of time, and it is not practical. So what we're going to do is we're going to let the program to replicate it for us. So what we're going to do is you're going to go first. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the imported asset you got over here, and you need to make sure that the pixel to units is 100. That just means that there are 100 pixels per units, and units over here is over here in terms of X, Y, and Z when you have units 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, so now what you're going to do is we're going to make a script so that it actually replicates this grass over here, and let's just change this to grass. So the first thing you want to do is we want to actually drag this grass over to our assets folder. So now it actually made a prefab. So now we have this as a prefab. And second, what we want to do is we want to create another empty, and we're gonna call this grass ground. Let's actually call this grass and this grass texture, and we're gonna apply. So the the new empty we're going to call grass, and the actual grass texture we're going to call it grass texture. So now what we want is a script that will replicate this grass texture. We're going to go ahead and create a script called replicate, and it's going to be in C#. And there we go. Okay. So now first what we need is, first I will tell you how we're actually going to replicate. So first, as we remember, our pixels to unit was 100, and we need to make sure that is 100. So we're going to go to the asset that you import from, the asset that you download from me, and you're going to go to Sprite Editor and click on the sprite that you sliced, and see that the width is 256 and the height is 192. Gonna write that down. Oops. Okay. And now, as you can see, pixels to unit is 100. So that means that the width is 256 pixels. So in terms of our scale, it is 2.56 units. So if that is confusing, I'll demonstrate that to you. We're gonna duplicate grass texture. We're gonna make this to 2.56, and as you can see, it actually replicated just beside this. Now, so that it merges very nicely, I just make it a little lesser, usually 0.02 lesser, and now it merges very easily. Same thing with the y-axis. Gonna duplicate these two and change the y to 1.92, and in fact 1.90, so it's 0.02 lesser, and as you can see, it merges very, very nicely. Just gonna delete all of them because the program's gonna do that for us because we are too lazy. And once you have, so that is how we're gonna do replicate. So we're gonna go to replicate. We're gonna basically have a public int x, from where we're actually gonna start replicating. Public int y. So this is the position we're gonna start replicating. Public x distance, which is how far apart each game object should be to replicate. So it's basically 2.54 in our case. Public y distance, which is 1.90 units far away. And then we of course need a public game object texture, which is going to be our texture, and there's going to be a float because it could be in points. Float. Could make this float as well if you want to. Okay, and we have a game object texture. So now you can go back over here, and in our grass object, always remember our grass texture, which has a sprite renderer, is different from the actual empty grass object, which has a replicate script. And let's make the x 0, and our y distance is 2.54, and x distance is 2.54, and our y distance is 1.90, which is 1.9 of course. Yeah. So now we need to actually drag this game object over here, grass texture, because yeah. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our start and make a for loop. We also need how many times we want to make the repetition. So we're gonna have public int x rep and public int y rep. So it's basically x repetitions and y repetitions. So x, we're gonna make a for loop over here. If you don't know what for loops are, I would really recommend you to go to a tutorial on YouTube or Google. It doesn't take very long, but I won't explain it over here since it is out of the scope. But just short, it just used to loop over the same code x amount of times. So here we're looping through the x, and here we're looping through the y rep. And what we're going to do is we actually want to instantiate this texture object. What we're going to say is we're going to instantiate and we're gonna instantiate the texture, and we're gonna, can we give in the X and Y just like that? Of course, we need to give in a vector, and so we're going to instantiate a texture and then new vector 3. Let's put in so this is going to be X times X distance. I'll explain this. I'll just code this first and then explain you, so that it's easier for me. And let's make it 10. And quaternion identity. Yep, that should work. And I'll just test this and then explain you if it works. Nope. Anyways, I will explain it to you and then check what error it is. So basically, we have an X rep and Y rep. Oh, because it's 10. 1 second. I'll just test this and then explain. There we go. There, it works. Okay. Now I can explain you guys what actually happens. So as you can see, we have this X rep and Y rep, which basically says how many times we want to actually repeat. So here we have a for loop. We're for looping through the X rep, so replicating the X, the width, and then we're replicating the height. And then what we're doing is we're instantiating the original texture, and we're giving it a new vector, so the position we want to actually replicate it at. So it's X over here, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, times the X distance, which is 2.54. So it's always it's putting it 2.54 units away from each other. And the same thing goes for the Y distance, and it's putting just on Z to be 10, as you can see over here. And quaternion identity is just rotation 0, 0, 0, because we don't want it to rotate in any kind of weird way. So now, as you can see, we're actually able to replicate the grass without us actually doing anything. So that makes our life way easier. Okay, but we're still not finished yet. We still need to implement the X and Y position. And also, when we play it, these grass clones take up all of the hierarchy, which is really annoying. So we need to fix that as well. So first, to fix the problem where the grass clone takes up all the hierarchy, we're gonna make a parent object. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over here, create empty, and we're actually not gonna create a new object. We have grass over here. We're going to go over here, back to our script, and we're going to say game object instance is equal to instantiate, and then we're going to cast game object. So this basically it is saying just store the text we're instantiating in instance variable. And what we're going to do is we're going to say instance dot parent dot transform dot parent is equal to is equal to this dot transform dot parent. So basically we're setting the parent of this to this dot transform. If it doesn't make sense, it'll make sense when I play it. As you can see, this has all the texture, all the clones now, so it basically made all of these parents itself. Now, second, we need to change its X and Y position so it's according to what we like it. So what we're actually gonna do is, I just realized that we don't need this public float X and public float Y. Just gonna save it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna play. We're gonna take this grass over here that has all the clones, and we're gonna drag it over to our assets folder and stop playing. And we're gonna name this on the ground. ground. Now what you can basically do is you can take this grass component over here and deactivate it or delete it. So the point over here is you can make an empty object, call it anything, put in the replicate script, and it's gonna just replicate the texture you want to, and then you can just drag it over here and make it your own asset. So now we don't need this grass anymore over here. And make sure when you go to the ground, you delete the replicate component because we don't need it anymore. Everything is already replicated for us over here. And we're just gonna drag it over here. And now as you can see, we can just drag it anywhere we want to and everything drags with it. So now we basically made a giant ground area. Let the program just make a giant ground area. And you can this is just with 10 or whatever, how many ever times I repeat it. You can make a huge area by just changing two numbers. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and import another asset. I'm gonna give you the link again. Gonna go ahead and import these buildings over here. So just gonna drag them over here. And again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the import settings and put it to multiple, and then choose one of the houses, whichever we like. Let's just choose this one over here. Let's just choose it roughly just above it, and then you're gonna say trim and check if it actually trims it correctly, and it does. And yep, apply. And as you can see, you have house 0 over here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag this house 0 over here. Where is our player? Oh, we just put it on our player. Whoops. And we are gonna drag it if we can. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't give me an option to move it by X and Y. Let's put it over here. Okay. And now what we want to do is actually, first of all, let's set our Z to 5. Okay, just so that it actually draws under the character. Or actually, we don't want that. Let's make it -10. We want it to draw over the character. Anyways, it doesn't matter because it's gonna have a collider. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and make a box collider over here. And for some reason I can't see the box collider and just general stuff in general. Oh, I can actually see it. Never mind. So let it just be what it is. 1 second. Let me just check something. Yep. So once we have a box collider, that'll not let our player to actually collide with our house. So now let's just call this let's actually call it craftsman. Let's call it a shop. Let's make it a shop. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag this and have it as a prefab. So now whenever we actually want to make a house anywhere, we can just drag this and drop it over here and move it around wherever we want to. So let's make 3 shops over here just because we feel like it. Feel like having many shops. And so now each one of them are actually going to have a box collider by themselves. Mention again that these are actually from Rainer Talsitz. Again, these are not my assets. He makes really good assets. Please download assets from him. The reason I'm letting you download it from me is because I make them transparent, so it's easier for you guys. But I really recommend to check out his website. He has so many good graphics. Okay, so before we actually start anything, I just want to organize everything over here because it's a mess. So let's create a folder and call it player, and drag all the player stuff in here. Player movement. Let's make a new one called new folder called environment, and drag all the environment related stuff inside here. Sandgrass. Replicate. Shop as well. And let's create a new buildings. and we're gonna drag house in here and shop in here, and nature. Let's drag replicate and these stuff over here. So you can just organize it however you want to. This is just my way of organizing it. It doesn't really change anything. Oh, I'll be really surprised if it did. And it actually what? I have a feeling that they're just too. Okay, guys, we have a bug over it. Whoa, this is weird. For some reason, it wouldn't draw the houses on the camera. I'll be back. So I actually found out the problem. You actually need to go to the shop and set the Z value to 5 because it can't be -10 since the camera is -10. So just make it to 5 and it'll solve the problems. And remember to say apply so it applies to all. So this will be enough for today, guys, because now we have actually made a whole environment that we can roam in, and in the next tutorial we'll actually make the player to actually move around this environment and collide with them so it doesn't actually go inside, and just all movement scripts in general. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and rate. Please support me by sharing the video, and thank you, guys. I also wanted to say that we hit 1,000 subscribers. It's really great. I'm really happy. Didn't expect to go so far at all. So you guys are great. Thank you for your support, and you guys keep me motivated to make these videos. So guys, I'll see you later. Bye bye.